Hello and welcome to what is the first episode of the Barbarian Breakdown, talking about the EGL Open Series Split 3. I did a little poll on Twitter after the Barbarian Breakdown with the Barbarian League and whatnot, and my followers, they voted in favour of doing these across Split 3, so here we are, I guess. So if you've been living under a rock in the world of competitive EU games, you might not be aware that we now have a 3-game mode esport competitive game. I'd like to give a little tip of the hat to the Barbarian Battles in helping with that decision and sort of progress, but I doubt it. I think it's more just sort of TC sort of pushing this, doing this, going for this new agenda. EGL are getting sort of in line with it as well. I think this is the future. This is what is a long-term sort of goal for Gears as an esport, to try and revive it, bring back some old players and bring new, and sort of bring everything in. So firstly, the 3-game modes are Execution 2.0, Escalation and Control. The weapon swaps, the settings and map pools are still being sort of discussed, decided, tweaked, but hopefully by the time we get around to the EGL Split finals, it will all be in a consistent and agreed upon spot. So, right, we're going to talk about the turnout and the roster changes that you may not be aware of that happened sort of for week 1 of Split 3 and whatnot. 15 teams turned out for week 1. I'm not disappointed with this number. I just know that there's a lot more teams than that sort of scrimming, and just in general that are out there. Like, what are you doing? Do you not want there's people like myself who are campaigning to sort of get more funding and stuff. Like, we need to be turning out, guys. Like, we need to be turning out. It's not a bad number, but it's a good number to build on. Hopefully we'd like to see that number increasing across the split. I do know a few people, without naming any names, who didn't get up out of bed last Sunday. God knows why you can't be out of bed by 3 PM on a Sunday afternoon. Well, that's a different conversation for a different video, I would imagine. Anyway, so let's break it down. Class 1A, coming fresh out of the league with 0 roster changes, managed to take a top 4 spot. That was very, very impressive from them. XS with a slight roster change that some of you may or may not be aware of. So Crisis out. You've seen after the Barbarian League, Crisis announced on Twitter that he was retiring from competitive Gears. So Crim's former teammate from the sort of Gears 4 days and whatnot, Craze is in there. So that roster now being Pains, Bouncers, Crim and Craze, looking to be a very, very dangerous roster across the split and going forwards in the with the future of EU Gears. They did take first on week 1, but not without a fight. They didn't. It wasn't just sort of a clean whitewash or an easy ice skate downhill for these guys or anything. Like, they had a fight. They had to fight for it. The teams who put up a good scrap, and a couple of teams who may in the future weeks may be able to cause an upset against these guys. But we'll have to see how that plays out. There seems to be a new Spanish roster on the prowl, literally named Spanish. This team is made up of legends, Cougars, Briggs and Fortons. They managed to take second, obviously falling to the formerly mentioned new XS roster. Now, some of you may notice that Cougars from Highly Rated is playing with these guys. Dragons Marsh Slaps were nowhere to be seen in week 1, which begs the question, what the fuck is going on there? Where are our champions of both Split 2 and the Barbarian League Highly Rated? I'm hearing some rumours that Marsh is unable to compete due to personal issues, personal problems. I do hope everything's all well for you there. I'm sure the rest of EU Gears is sending their energy and love in your direction, my friend. I would like to see at least some form of the highly rated squad get back together and put it in there. But if that is sort of true with Marsh, and then we have Cougars on the flip side playing with another roster now, does that spell the end for the highly rated squad? I mean, we'll have to see. Phantom T, formerly known as the Phantom Troop, formerly known as Rated R and whatnot. Not sure what's going on there with the name. I'm not sure if they're not with Rated R anymore or whatnot. But they're back. They took a top 4 spot in week 1, losing out on a top 2 spot at the hands of Spanish. But again, no roster changes. You do love to see it. So again, the roster should be coming strong in the coming weeks. I think a big thing is the introduction of the 2 new game modes. It's sort of, for at least the first few weeks, it's going to be a bit more anyone's game as people learn control, learn execution, they learn what they want to do, learn the strat. And we should see this sort of comfortable little settle and we'll see how it goes in the future. I definitely feel the new game mode's set up for potential upsets across the board as you look at it. Now, let's talk about some of the lower finishing teams from week 1. Xenex went crashing out in the quarterfinals at the hands of Class 1A with their new roster of Breaker, Sarkster, Statics and Demonic. Now, when I first wrote this script, I said I'm not sure if their team will stick, but I sure hope these boys will find a sticking combination soon. Since having this information, I've learned that a roster is being tested out, which is Breaker, Sarkster, Slazing and Banged. So again, we'll have to see if they stick. We'll hopefully get to see them in the EGL Open Series Split 3 week 2 and see what sort of happens there, and let's hope for the best for them, because in their win, lose, or draw, we do need as many teams as possible and we want the best competition, and you get the best competition from the team sticking and putting the work in and doing the grind out together. MVPing, led by Mantis HDRR, went out in the quarterfinals against Phantom T. They've brought in FZ Punisher to replace VRY Hunter. We'll have to see if that helps them later in the split once they've been together and they've gelled and they've got the chemistry in. I suppose only time will tell on that front. I'd like to give a shout out to Raw Gamers as they continue their campaign to get into comp gears and sort of make a name for themselves. 0 real roster changes and a constant grind. So a tip of the hat to you, Bosco, and the rest of the boys over at RG. So here is the full list of teams, their rosters, and where they finished in week 1, courtesy of Lancer Queen and her wonderful editing skills. So the future of EU Gears, at least on the competitive side, still looks fairly bright and strong. With some decisions to be made, weapon swaps to be changed, and arguments to be had, I'm very excited to see how this split will play out. I have tweeted out how I think the picks and bans should work. I'll attach that here for best of 3 gameplay. You can adapt this very easily to best of 5 gameplay. I just think it may be better than sort of what we've got now with predetermining game mode and sort of forcing people to play game modes in certain order. Let one team pick the first game mode, let the second team pick the second game mode, and then whichever game mode doesn't get picked is the tiebreak game mode. I think that is the future of that, and allowing that to play out at its best available sort of way. But either way, guys, it's a fairly sort of straightforward episode today. It's only week 1. We're early into the split. We've got 7 weeks to go, and then we have the finals themselves. So as always, I will see you next week for episode 2, and do keep it classy, guys.